Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Montague High School Productions, where tonight you'll see the contest, the opening contest of the season between the visiting Whitehall Vikings and the host Montague Wildcats. As you can see, we're in the Whitehall branch of the Shelby State Bank offices, which is a far cry from where we'll be just a minute. But with me here is Kim Griffin, the coach of the Whitehall Vikings. Kim, welcome back to our program. It's good to have you on the air again.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, Kim, last year's season had some ups and downs for you. You had an excellent opening half of the season, and after our game, you, as I say, had some ups and downs. Who all did you lose from last year's team?
Well, we lost Mike Kirshen from last year's team, Scott Weaver from last year's team. I'm sure there's others that we lost, but we got a good group of kids back.
Okay, well, when you lose players of the caliber of Kirshen and Weaver, we know they were excellent players in the West Michigan Conference and your non-conference games too, of course. But you've got an excellent group of young men coming through, and I know that you have, I think it's 7 or 8 juniors on this year's squad. And of course, that bodes well not only for this year but next. But during the preseason practices, how those juniors looked?
Juniors looked really good this year, and mixed with the seniors that we have, I think we got a nice blend. So I'm looking forward to it. And a couple of juniors, Jason Cassette and Carl Wade, played quite a lot last year, so it's not like they're inexperienced.
Okay, well, Kim, can you tell us a little bit about what to expect in tonight's game and throughout the season from the Whitehall Vikings? What will be the strengths that you see coming through on this squad? Certainly in tonight's game, the rebounding has to be in your favor with some height advantage, perhaps.
Well, I hope so. I hope team rebounding is pretty decent this year. Jay Van Ross has good legs and should be a good rebounder for us. Jason Cassette is a strong kid and should rebound well for us. Matt Scott is also a good rebounder. I think team-wise we should be well balanced. We should be able to bring in kids off the bench just like Montague has for the past couple of years, and play well with a lot of different combinations.
Okay, Kim. What about your offensive strategies this year? Will you be doing anything differently that we might expect to see this year than last?
Well, every year I say I'd like to get involved in the three-point play a little bit more. It has been a strength. I keep bringing up Montague because they've won the conference the last couple of years, but their strength has been the blend between three-point shooters and good inside play. And if I can get that combination, that's what I'd like to do too.
Okay, well, we know that the Whitehall Montague contest is always an exciting one. This year's opening game is in Montague, of course, but you have not normally played Montague in your opening round games. What kind of effect does that have on your preseason practices, perhaps, and what do you think the game will be like, since it is indeed the opening contest for both teams?
Well, with Montague, you kind of have an idea of what they're going to do as far as defensively. They like to play full court man-to-man press, and they like to play man-to-man, and Jim Tate has made no bones about that. That's what their team's going to do. So you can kind of gear for that a little bit. You have a couple of, well, especially one excellent player in Doug Schloff, and so you might tend to try and gear your defense to try and stop him, though I doubt that he'll be stopped much this year. So just a couple little things probably that you might try to do in addition to your regular defense or offense.
Kim, one of the things we've heard about on the air and in the newspapers recently is the fact that Whitehall is now a Class B school. Obviously, you're in the West Michigan Conference. We're a Class C conference. How does that affect your players, do you think, in terms of them knowing that you're now a Class B school?
It hasn't affected us at all, I don't believe. If they put us in a different conference, then it might affect us. You know, if they threw us back into the C-Way, then it obviously would affect us. But we play the same teams we've always played. So from the conference standpoint, it doesn't change a thing. The only time it will really change is at the end of the year. And they have told us which district we're going to be in, which is the Coopersville district. And I don't, knowing the strength of what our C district has been in the past years, I really don't feel that there will be much of a change.
Okay, Kim. Any closing comments you'd like to make to the fans before we go off the air here tonight?
Well, I expect a really good game this year, and both games ought to be really good, and I just want to wish Montague and Jim Tate good luck this year, and I just hope that we come out and show our fans a really good game.
Okay, well, Kim, we wish you the best of luck tonight and throughout the season as well. Coach Kim Griffin with us, coach of the Whitehall Viking varsity basketball squad. We'll be right back for a visit with Jim Tate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and as you can see now, we're on the court at Montague High School, where next to me is standing the head varsity basketball coach of the Montague Wildcats, Mr. Jim Tate. Welcome, Mr. Tate. This seems like old hat by now, I suppose.
Yeah, it's TV interviews, nothing to them anymore.
Well, Jim, you've been the varsity basketball coach in Montague for 2 seasons, and you've had darn good success, we'd say. 2 championship teams. The reigning West Michigan Conference champion coach is standing next to me. How does it seem to be the defending champion 2 years in a row?
The Muskegon Chronicle asked me that the other night. It kind of makes you feel good because we think we have a really good program here. But, you know, when it's all said and done in high school coaching, you don't get to recruit players. You kind of have to take the kids you have here. And I think it says more for our kids than anything else. We've got kids that love to play, kids that commit an awful lot of their time and their life to improving in the game. They play a lot in the summer. They get along well together. They're solid citizens, and I'm as proud of our kids as I could be. And it really wouldn't matter to me whether we won a championship or didn't. It's the kind of thing that I'm trying to promote in this basketball program, and they're the kinds of kids that make me feel real good to come to work every day. I really enjoy practice, and I really enjoy being around these guys.
Well, that's quite a compliment for the school and the players themselves. But, of course, it takes a team coach to mold that spirit and that attitude, and that's been your trademark with the team, and we appreciate that. Jim, you've come off from 2 championship seasons, as I said, but we know you've lost some important starters from last year's squad. 3 seniors, Paul Schlaff, Jim Grieve, and J.J. Flynn are departed. What difference does that make to this year's team?
Well, we like to think we have a good enough program that we can reload instead of talking about rebuilding and have to go down and to have a horrible season to come back again. But I think it's more the kinds of things that those kids gave us last year. I'd like to include Tom Cedarquist in that list of kids we're really going to miss too, because those were great leaders. They were great practice players. And the biggest thing that they provided for us that I'm really looking for this year is rebounding. To me, rebounding is about 70% of your defense, and I'm not sure how we're going to rebound this year. If we rebound as a team, we're going to have another really good season. If we don't rebound, we could be, you know, mediocre to good. And we don't have anybody like Jim Grieve or Tom Cedarquist that's going to get that big rebound. Last year we had Paul Schlaff, who the kids knew we were going to go to in a tough situation to get a big basket. And this team's still trying to develop an identity, and we don't know who that's going to be yet. So those are some things we're looking at. But as I said before, I've got a lot of confidence in these kids. The cupboard's not bare. We've got good players. I'm not going to poor mouth anybody. I think we're going to win a lot of games this year, and it's going to end up being a team that's fun to watch for the spectators, and we hope to play for the championship at some point in the season. Unfortunately, that might be the first game of the year. You never know.
Tonight's contest. Well, Jim, we are missing some seniors, of course, but you have 2 starting players tonight that were starters last year. You have several other players that saw lots of time, and that's important as you mold a new team, I would think.
Right. In our program, we like to think of a starting 8, and if you think of a starting 8 or 8 players that are going to play in every game for us, we have 4 of those 8 back. We have good continuity. We've got good players. And I think in an awful lot of the kids that we have in that top 8, we've got some very good leadership kinds of kids, kids you can depend on, kids that are consistent, kids that I can count on what they're going to do night in and night out, and that's going to be real important for our team.
Jim, as you've gone through preseason practices here, is there anything that's most outstanding in your mind about the molding of this team? You mentioned a while ago, for instance, that you're concerned about the rebounding. You don't have as much size, and that may be especially important in tonight's game. But is there something that you see as being able to make up for some of that rebounding level going down, perhaps?
Yeah, I honestly think of the top 8 players that we have this year, it's the best 8 athletes that I've ever coached. Not the biggest and maybe not the best shooters, but collectively as a group, it's the best 8 athletes that I've ever had. We've got very good team speed, excellent quickness. Cumulative grade points, probably about 3.5 for those kids. So making adjustments and thinking about where they're supposed to be and those kinds of things is no problem. They're the kinds of kids that emotionally they're going to be able to handle big game situations. And the really good thing, I guess, about that is we're awfully young. We've got 6 juniors and a sophomore. And of those, 5 of those 7 kids are going to play a real prominent role this year. So we're going to be good this year, and I think our best year is going to be next year. And an interesting thing, I think, is exactly the same thing's true of Whitehall. I think this is going to be a good year for them and a great year next year. So the White Lake area's got some really fine players, and I guess fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, it's Montague and Whitehall in the same years again.
Well, when we interviewed Coach Griffin, he mentioned, I think, that he has 8 juniors on his squad this year, so it'll be an interesting season, just the fact that you have a lot of younger players coming up through the ranks.
Yeah, we have Scott Lindquist, your son, also on the varsity, and Scott was outstanding the other day in the scrimmage against Mona Shores and Ludington. And he's just one of those players that once he gets his feet wet, I'm not sure how he's going to react on Tuesday night in his first varsity game, but once he gets his feet wet, he's going to be a fine player. And Doug Schloff is a junior, but really with an entire season of varsity experience behind him, it's like he's going to get an opportunity to be a 2-year senior. Eric Webb the same way. Rob Smith was a starter last year. So I'm looking for good things from this team, awful lot of young talent. And I think by mid-season, I think we're going to find out exactly what kind of basketball team we have. Unfortunately, by that time, we will have played the 3 toughest teams in the league the first time around, and of course, we need to win a couple of those games to stay in the conference race.
Jim, I want to just ask you about one more thing. When we interviewed Coach Griffin again, we mentioned the fact that tonight's opening contest is the first for both teams, and it surely is a different kind of contest, being an important contest, as they all are, of course, but it's a league contest with Whitehall, an arch rival. How do you feel about playing the opening game against your arch rival, not really knowing necessarily how your team is going to react? And of course, he's in the same situation.
It's really tough. I really wish we were playing Whitehall the last game of each round, because I think we're going to be, maybe in the final analysis, the 2 best teams. But there's nothing we can do about the schedule. The state of Michigan said we can't start boys basketball until after the girls' season's over. So our traditional opener with Orchard View got moved back, and it just so happens that Whitehall's first in the rotation. Next year, Ravenna moves up, Whitehall goes down to second, and things change. But the way I look at it, I guess, is it's a great opportunity for us. We haven't lost a home game in 2 years. Our kids are going to be jacked up to play. And we talked a lot about this at the scrimmage the other night. I think the team that's able to calm down and start playing earliest in the game is going to have a real big advantage, because both teams are going to be excited enough that it's the first game of the year, but then to put Whitehall Montague on top of that, and the fact that we're both contenders for the championship, it's going to make for an enormous amount of excitement, and I think probably in the game, in all honesty, an awful lot of mistakes.
Jim, one last thing here as we enter the season. Are we apt to see any new Jim Tate strategies this year? Are we going to see the same tenacious defense and the same basic offensive sets?
Well, defensively, I really believe in what we do, and one of the things I like about it is that it forces me to play 8 or 9 players, and those kids know that coming up through our program that 8 or 9 are going to play, and we keep kids longer in our program, we keep more interest, practices are better, and I really believe in that kind of defense. Secondly, offensively, I've always believed in fitting some things to our talent. You're going to see some different things. A couple of different alignments than we've had in the past, but basically I just believe in getting kids in spots on the floor and letting them take advantage of what they can do. But so you'll see the same kinds of shots probably, but maybe from a little bit different perspective in the way they line up on the floor. But not a whole lot different. We hope the end result's about the same as it's been too.
Jim, do you have any closing comment you'd like to make to the fans in the White Lake area as you approach the Whitehall game?
Well, since this is going to be viewed, I guess, before the game, if you miss this one, I think you're going to miss a classic high school game. We hope that both teams play extremely well, and one thing I think is going to be abundantly clear to the people that attend the game, that basketball in White Lake is alive and well. We've got good players at both schools, excellent programs, and I think it's going to be a terrific year for basketball.
Okay, Coach Tate, we thank you for being with us tonight, and good luck tonight and throughout the season. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a minute with more of tonight's preliminary activities. And welcome back to Montague High School. Tonight's contest could prove to be a real thriller, but before we get into the action, we now go to the court where Mr. Andy Van Bergen, Montague High School senior, will sing our national anthem. That was Mr. Andy Van Bergen, as I said, a Montague High School senior, doing an excellent job. Nice rendition of the national anthem. Andy has just been recently selected as a member of the State Honors Choir, and most recently participated just last Saturday in the regional choir at Ferris State University in Big Rapids. And now it's time for tonight's starting lineups. Starting at one guard, number 20, 5'10" senior, Kurt Heising. Starting at the other guard, number 22, 6'1" junior, Carl Wade. Starting at one forward, number 52, 6'4" junior, Jason Cassette. Starting at the other forward position, number 34, 6'2" senior, Matt Scott. And starting at center, number 50, 6'3" junior, J. Van Ross. And the Vikings, of course, are coached by Mr. Kim Griffin. And now the lineups for the host, Montague Wildcats. Starting at one guard, number 20, 6' sophomore, Scott Lindquist. Starting at the other guard, number 30, 5'10" junior, Eric Webb. Starting at one forward, number 34, 6'4" junior, Doug Schlaff. Starting at the other forward position, number 42, 6'1" junior, Mark Schneider. And starting at center, number 44, 6'3" senior, Rob Smith. And of course, the Wildcats are coached by Mr. Jim Tate. Well, as I was saying, tonight's contest could be a real thriller. And joining me now in the booth is Mr. Dale Schrader, elementary principal at Early Elementary School. Welcome to the booth, Dale. And I'm sure we're going to see some exciting action tonight.
Thank you. This will be an interesting test for both teams. Coming so early in the season, I'm sure if both coaches had their preference, they'd rather open with some other opponent, but nonetheless, with the schedule the way it is, they'll be ready for each other, I'm sure.
Well, we commented about that in the pregame activities. Both Coach Tate and Coach Griffin have a little nervousness, I'm sure, about tonight's contest, along with both sets of the teams out there. Coach Tate sports a 41-5 record over the last 2 years, Dale. Nothing to be sniffed at.
That record is, I'm sure, envied by all the coaches in the area. Of course, anybody who knows Jim Tate understands why part of that success is certainly due to his coaching.
Well, we're ready for the opening tip-off. Jay Van Ross, with his excellent leaping ability, controls the tip. Taken by the Vikings. Ross back outside. Little loose ball there, but controlled. Now intercepted by Mark Schneider. And the Wildcats have their first possession of the 89-90 basketball season. Eric Webb, probably one of the fastest team members of any team in the league. Doug Schlaff over to the right court. Looking inside, nothing there. Coming back to the top, Scott Lindquist with the ball at the top of the key. Fake left, drive right, nothing there. Comes back out. Ball taken away momentarily by the Vikings. Now back underneath to Eric Webb, that was. No good, but he draws the foul.
Both teams, Larry, have started out with a man-to-man defense, which is not surprising. That's the bread and butter for both teams. You have to play good man-to-man defense in any league in order to have a chance.
Well, the foul was on number 50, Jay Van Ross. That's his first personal, first team. Eric Webb, in the process of shooting when he drew the foul, gets 2 shots, but misses on the first. Dale, they all have to be a little bit nervous out there right now.
I was just thinking, once the first couple of minutes are underway, a lot of those preseason jitters will certainly subside.
First points of the 89-90 season are on the board for the Wildcats, as Eric Webb breaks the plane of the rim. Nice speed that time. The basket no good, and the rebound is finally taken off and controlled by the Vikings. Now it comes down to Rob Smith.
Whitehall had a couple of shots that time.
Mark Schneider on the left side. There's Eric Webb again. Oh, nice cutback out to Rob Smith. In and out. No good. Nice draw to the center that time by the Wildcats, and back out for the open shot to Smith.
Both teams are still searching each other out a little bit here, Larry. It may be most of the first quarter doing that.
I think the foul is going to be an offensive one against the Vikings. Number 22, Kyle Wade, with his first personal.
Yeah, Rob Smith that time had excellent position, good anticipation, got the plant, got the charge.
Kyle Wade, though, from the experience that he had last year, is going to prove to be an excellent guard for the Vikings, I'm sure, throughout the season. Doug Schlaff this time can't control the ball, and both teams still a little tentative, still having a little difficulty on the floor. Knocked away by the Wildcats. Viking ball in front of the score table. How about the officials, Dale? This is their first game probably, too, for the season. How does it feel to be you know that, how does it feel to be an official in the first game?
There, before I answer that, that's a pretty good foul on Rob Smith. Don't think there's any question about that. And getting back to your question, officials are just like the players. It's going to take them a couple minutes. Most of these guys, though, have had plenty of experience, especially at this level. Some of these gentlemen work girls' games as well, even though that may be a little bit of a different pace. We get a foul called on number 22.
Kyle Wade again.
Kyle Wade.
Be his second personal and the team's third. Officials for tonight's game, by the way, are Kevin O'Rourke and Tom Judson in the Grand Rapids area, I believe. Wildcat ball into Eric Webb.
I don't know if the audience knows that these officials are approved by the West Michigan Conference.
Rob Smith from the free throw line extended, no good. Tipped by Lindquist, but can't be controlled. And it's going to go out of bounds to the Vikings.
Good hustle by Doug Schlaff there. Just barely missed having a steal.
Ball comes in up court to Matt Scott. Now it's controlled at the top of the court. Kurt Heisinger down low to Jay Van Ross. Inside to Jason Cassette. In and out. Cassette missed that inside shot. You don't see him do that an awful lot. He was one of the higher percentage shooters last season on the Viking squad. Eric Webb in and out. Lindquist fights the rebound and loses it.
Scott got inside that time, had awfully good position. Ball is knocked out of his hands, but he slid in there in real fine fashion. Three-point attempt.
Three-point play is good. Basket by Heisinger, Kurt Heisinger.
Kurt's a good all-around athlete, was their quarterback in football. Has improved his basketball skills tremendously.
Nice give and go.
Give and go is beautiful.
Doug Schlaff couldn't make it, couldn't get it to drop, but nice play. Should mention that number 42, David Mead, is in for the Vikings. And Lindquist and Smith are going out for the Wildcats, replaced by Bushberger and Cotter. Also in for the Wildcats is Ryan Anglem.
Well, this follows a pattern, Larry, that we've seen the last couple of years with Jim using his bench regularly and often.
Another steal by the Vikings. There's Jay Van Ross, short, follows his own shot, no good. Rebound is fought for, goes out of bounds, off from the knee of Matt Cotter. Viking ball underneath their own basket.
So far, Larry, Montague hasn't gotten the kind of shot I think that they really want to get on the offensive end. Some of that certainly due to the Whitehall defense.
Jay Van Ross that time showed some of his inside strength as he took that inbounds pass. He knew right where he wanted to go immediately, Dale.
That was a built-in play. You could see it.
5-1 Vikings over the Wildcats with 3:43 left in the first quarter. Mark Snyder up with a shot over the top. Matt Cotter. Yeah, it's going to be controlled out of bounds by the Wildcats as the ball goes off Jay Van Ross. Jay Van Ross now being replaced by Carl Wade.
We have to remember that Montague is young. A lot of their players haven't seen considerable varsity action.
Matt Cotter on the inbounds pass. Excuse me for interrupting, Dale. 5-3 Vikings. Cross-court pass. Heisinger with the ball, looking inside, nothing there. Reverses the ball now. There's Carl Wade from the outside. Back to center. Tough man-to-man defense by the Wildcats. Trademark, as we've said, of the Wildcat defense all the time since Tate's been here. Three-point shot is no good. We're going to have a foul on Matt Scott. That'll be his first personal. And the Wildcats will be inbounding the ball under the Viking basket. Rob Smith back in for Mark Schneider.
With 3 minutes left in the first quarter, Larry, I still don't think Montague's offense has really clicked yet. They haven't gotten the kind of shot that they want to get.
Inside to Kevin Bushberger underneath. Right, Rob Smith with a basket. Beautiful play that time. Bushberger with the assist.
That pressing defense, there it is again.
There's a turnover.
Steal by Bushberger.
Doug Schlaff now bringing the ball up. Top of the key, looking inside, back out to Ryan Anglem. Looks to Matt Cotter, nothing there. There's Bushberger. Drive on the inside. Cuts right on through, back out to Anglem.
It's a good play by Kevin there. He didn't force the shot, he got it back out.
The Wildcats are generally pretty patient on offense. Nice outside shot, two-pointer by Doug Schlaff. Doug made a lot of those last year, and I'm sure that Jim Tate hopes he makes a lot this year.
And that's what I was talking about in making that offense work. They didn't get the shot, they didn't force it.
Jason Cassette with the inside drive, baseline drive, and nobody cut him off that time. Nice move by Jason Cassette.
It was an excellent drive.
7-7 is the score now. Minute and 35 seconds left in the first quarter. This quarter's gone by quickly, Dale.
Yes, it has. There haven't been a lot of loose,
Doug Schlaff missed the
dead ball situations which would stop the clock.
Doug Schlaff missed that reverse layup attempt, and the ball came off the board, and I believe he drew the foul.
That's correct.
No, the foul's going to be called on Doug Schlaff. That's his first foul, team's second. Minute 26, tied at 7-all. Ball comes inbounds, down court. Jay Van Ross, nice fast break play that time by the Vikings. The Wildcats were a little slow getting back. Schlaff coming to the top. Double stack here. Trademark of the offense has been that formation. Rob Smith looking to go up for the shot and does. It's blocked. Blocked by Jay Van Ross. That excellent leaping ability.
And he didn't go with a head fake.
No, he surely didn't. Scott Lindquist back in for Kevin Bushberger. Eric Webb to inbounds the ball. Underneath the Wildcat basket. And we're going to have a foul call, I believe, on the inbounds pass as it was going for Ryan Anglem.
Number 34, Larry.
Foul is called on number
Mike
34, Matt Scott.
Scott.
I believe that'll be his second personal. And it's the fifth, I believe, on the Vikings. So we'll have a one and bonus attempt now. Ryan Anglem contributed greatly to the junior varsity program last year. I'm sure he'll do the same with the varsity club this season. That's one thing about a Jim Tate team, Dale. In fact, he mentioned in our pregame interview that he really considers that he has a starting 8. And all the kids on Jim Tate's teams are going to see a lot of playing time.
And that way, if you do end up getting a man or two in foul trouble somewhere along the line in a season, you're not going to have a situation where you're forced to play somebody in a critical situation, which can then hurt a ball club. And I think that's why Jim has been 20-3 last year, and very similar record the year before. Using your personnel like that is really going to pay dividends, and it has for Montague the last couple of years.
Well, Anglem's 6 1 of 2. The Vikings bring the ball in bounds. A little slow coming up this time, but he's across the 10-second line now. Vikings looking right, now inside. There's Kurt Heisinger from the outside. 3-point shot, no good. And Rob Smith comes down with a rebound. 30 seconds exactly left in the first quarter. Doug Schlaff from the outside. A little short this time. Eric Webb and a Viking go up for the rebound, and they say Eric Webb knocked it out of bounds. So it'll be Whitehall ball with 20 seconds left in the first quarter. 9-8 favor the Vikings.
Montague
Carl Wade
putting a man-to-man press on it, and there it is right there. You have a good evidence of what a man-to-man full-court press will do. He turned it over three-quarters length, and so Montague gets the ball.
12 seconds remaining. Eric Webb trying to set up a last play on the clock. Dribbles in, back out to Mark Schneider. Three-pointer. No good. Off the front of the rim. So that's the end of the first quarter, Dale, with the score. Whitehall 9, Montague 8. Dale, we saw a lot of action that first quarter, but it seemed that both teams had a little difficulty getting off the ground.
Both teams, I think, were struggling a little bit at the offensive end. We saw a couple of times where Montague was successful, but I think their offenses will improve.
Okay, we'll be right back, fans, after this break for a message from our sponsors. And now, back to tonight's contest. We're about set to go here. Wildcats bring the ball in bounds as we start the second quarter. 9-8, favor the Vikings. Eric Webb looking into Schlaff, up with the ball. It's blocked again by Jay Van Ross. That's his second block of the night. Kyle Wade hustles the ball down. Kyle Wade looking to Jay Van Ross on the side. Jason Cassette underneath. Good! Rob Smith and Doug Schlaff tried to make a little difference under there, but they couldn't that time as Cassette went right on up with it. 11-8, favor the Vikings.
I think they'll still try to go inside, Larry. Even though Doug Schlaff had the last one stuffed, I think they'll go inside.
Back out to Eric Webb, dribbling left. Up with a shot. Off the back of the rim, and Jay Van Ross comes down with that rebound. Excellent leaping ability paying off once again. Inside to Carl Wade. Nothing here. He tries to save it, but it goes to Rob Smith instead. Down the court to Mark Schneider.
Whitehall, I've been impressed with their defense so far, Larry. They've done a real good job of switching. They're keeping that middle clogged. And the times Montague has been able to get the ball in the middle, just now there was an errant pass. They were able to knock it away.
Well, the Wildcats tried to get it to the second cutter through that time, and it was knocked out of bounds. Inbounds to Eric Webb. Outside shot, short, off the front of the rim this time. Goes up to Scott Lindquist. Too hard. Scott fouls his own shot, gets the rebound. That time he scores, making the score 11-10. Wildcats pulled it within one. That's Heisinger with the shot, falling short.
Scott really showed us something on that last play. A lot of younger players would have held off shooting that ball a second time, but Scott went right back up after it, and he got 2 points.
3-point basket by Rob Smith. First three-pointer of the year for the Wildcats.
Montague's right back in it again. 5 quick points, 11-8 deficit to being ahead 13-11.
Carl Wade with the inside move. Nice move by Carl Wade. Coach Griffin told us that he thought that Carl Wade had the potential to become one of the best guards in the league, and he surely showed it on that play.
That was a beautiful move inside.
Eric Webb out to Mark Schneider. Back across to Rob Smith. Mark Schneider again on the right. Inside it goes to Doug Schlaff. Up, no good, off the rim. Controlled by the Wildcats. Mark Schneider grabs it. Rob Smith from the outside. Off the back of the rim at the three-point attempt.
Montague's taken a lot of three-point attempts so far, Larry. I'm a little bit surprised by that. That was a good shot. It was a very clear open shot, but I'm a little surprised at that.
Vikings up with the basket attempt, no good. The ball comes down, and Jay Van Ross that time is going to be called for traveling. Kevin Bushberger coming in for Doug Schlaff.
Both coaches, Larry, have used their benches tonight. Kim Griffin has substituted quite freely as well.
Yes, and that's one thing that Coach Griffin, I think, feels quite confident about. He believes he has more depth this year than he has in many years in the recent past.
I was going to say, last year, if my recollection is correct, he didn't have as many kids that he could count on.
Nice hustle and save by Rob Smith, but the official says he stepped on the sideline. It'll be Viking ball.
There was only one person who would see that call, and that was the official.
That's right.
He was watching that line. Everybody else was watching where Rob was with the ball, or in terms of coming back around, but I'm sure it was a good call.
David Mead off to Carl Wade. Good.
That's the second move inside, Larry.
He's showing us something.
To his left. That would be a tendency that I'm sure Jim will have those cats looking at halftime.
Though Carl Wade didn't start all the games last year, he did average 6 points a game for the Vikings, and he's surely showing us something tonight so far, on those last couple of plays especially. Down low, it goes to the Jason Cassette, turn around, fall, good. Vikings now up by 4.
These teams, Larry, appear to be very evenly matched. Just at the outset here, I think this is going to be a hard-fought game all the way to the end.
Well, the fans from Montague thought that should be a foul. There goes Cassette, and he is fouled by Kevin Bushberger as he tries for the reverse layup there. Going to have substitutes coming back in for the Wildcats, Schlaff and Anglem.
Eric's little ploy there didn't work. I'm not sure how much he was pushed or what, but there was no call, and as a result, the ball went over to Whitehall. Good heads-up play by the Whitehall defense.
Jason Cassette will be on the line shooting 2 shots. 2 shots. Jason Cassette was a big factor for them last season. He averaged 6 points a game. I was wrong before. Dale Carl Wade averaged 9 points a game, and Jason averaged 6 points a game for them as a sophomore. Here is a junior back again looking for 2 more good years. Well, he does the Wildcats a favor now, and Scott Lindquist controls the rebound. It came off long. 2 minutes and 55 seconds left in the half. Over to Schlaff. Off the front of the rim. We're still a little tight on the offensive set.
Montague, you really crashed the board that time, Larry. They had 3 men right around the backboard, and that's what they're going to need to do. Whitehall's got some good leaping ability inside, and Montague's going to have to do the same.
Well, one of the things that Coach Tate mentioned in his pregame interview was the concern he had about the rebounding strength of the Wildcats. He lost some big power underneath with Jim Grieve graduating. Tom Cedarquist, of course, is gone. And Paul Schlaff, also a leading rebounder last year. And so he's going to have to pick up some slack with that or some extra hustle or something. Scott Lindquist can't make a drop underneath. Comes off to Carl Wade again. Vikings come to the attack.
So far, Larry, Carl Wade has been the difference, I think.
He surely has. I agree with you. There's Cassette. Oh!
Oh, they're going to get They're going to get Javen for being over the back.
Well, you can't come any closer to scoring without scoring than that, Dale. It's just amazing how that ball was almost quarter of the way down, it looked like.
That was close. But as they say, that only counts in horseshoes.
That's right. Well, you know, the Vikings' overall record last year wasn't all that impressive. They were just over 500, 11-10. But if you look at their league mark, Dale, they were 8-4, a fine record indeed. And they're starting off again tonight with some strength in the West Michigan Conference.
And some of those league losses, I know, were by a very few points each game. So they were very close last year. And as I recall, I think as the season progressed, there was a period of time where they lost several of those games almost in succession. So they, outside of that one string, they did have a very good year last year.
Doug Schlock converts the first of a one and bonus attempt as Jay Van Ross drew the personal. That's his second. And the Vikings can ill afford to get him in foul trouble. 2:20 left in the first half. 17-15 favor the Vikings. It's kind of funny how we've seesawed back and forth in this quarter, Dale.
It is. I think this is probably at least a third or fourth lead change. Got a foul on Kevin Buchberger for reaching in.
As Jason Cassette made the turnaround move of going up for the shot, Kevin Buchberger reached in and drew the personal. That'll be his second.
I think the officials have done an excellent job so far in keeping the game under control.
Indeed they have, and this is not always an easy game to do that in, Dale.
It's a very difficult game, and especially the first game. There are a lot of things that happen in a first game that usually don't happen later on in the season. We talked about that earlier. It's a tough game to officiate anyway, the Whitehall Montague game. This many people. It's an important game, certainly for both teams. And I think the officials have done a fine job so far.
Well, if you're a Wildcat fan, you remember that Jason didn't have all that great luck last time he was on the line. If you're a Viking fan, you want him to have better luck this time. And he does. That was nice form. You could almost tell it was in from the moment it left his hand. One more attempt now, as that was the Wildcats' fourth team foul, so they'll have one in bonus from now on, even though that was a two-shot attempt. 19-15, a 4-point difference with 2 minutes and 5 seconds remaining in the first half. Doug Schlaff looking left. Nothing there. Comes back over to Anglem. Back to Schlaff. There's Lindquist on the outside.
There it is.
Inside to Anglem. Turnaround shot blocked by Jay Van Ross. Again, showing that excellent move that he has, the leap. He's 6'3", Dale, but he leaps much higher.
He plays about 6'7" down there.
He surely does.
He's a lot bigger force down there than just a normal 6'3" person.
Kurt Heisinger with the ball. Over to the right-hand side. Dribble inside to the right baseline area.
Excellent steal by Eric Webb. Bringing the ball down in the middle. Good pass to Lindquist. Excellent pass underneath.
Nice pass to Scott Lindquist.
Good
Eric
defense
that time.
That was real good defense, Larry, by Matt Scott. He got back and thwarted that pass because that pass was very quick coming from Scott.
Well, I think that Mark thought that Eric was going to break to the basket that time.
He did. They had the right idea.
Heisinger bringing it up once again for the Vikings. 19-15 with 1:10 in the first half. Jay Van Ross, no good. Up for the rebound. Great follow that time. Great follow. He was surrounded by 3 Wildcats, went right up and got the ball.
That's where he was playing above the rim that time again, Larry. And it doesn't matter how many you have around you if you can get above that cylinder.
Eric Webb with a nice strong move to the inside, but he can't get it to drop for him. Ryan Anglin controls the rebound and throws it right to the Vikings. Nice save effort on the part of Ryan Anglin, though. Good hustle.
Whitehall is playing excellent defense. I think we got to focus on that for a minute. They've forced a lot of turnovers, just as Montague did right there.
Indeed. Pass was intended for Jay Van Ross looking over the top, and Wildcats came off with it.
That was not a good shot.
The Vikings come away with it again, but only to throw it away. And we're going to have a traveling call on the Wildcats.
I think the call there, Larry, is that when he brought it under control, he took more than the obligatory 2 steps, and it's a judgment call.
Well, regardless, it's going to be Viking ball, and I'm sure the Viking fans are pleased that the call went that way. Carl Wade looking to the baseline. Nice move by Carl Wade, getting open for a second. No good as the half ends. Score, Whitehall 21, Montague 15. Well, Dale, this is going to be interesting. The Wildcats are not used to being down by 6 points at halftime. They're going to have to come out second half and adopt some new strategy, maybe be a little more tenacious on offense as well as defense.
I think they have to be more patient on offense. That's one of their keys. And at the same time, they're going to have to force Whitehall into making some more mistakes when they're on offense. Whitehall's offense or defense has played awfully well.
Okay, Dale, we'll be right back for the start of second half action after this pause for a message from our commercial sponsors. The Wildcats come back out onto the court. Nice crowd tonight. Opening contest in West Michigan action, and all action for that matter is this Tuesday night. Vikings bring the ball back in play. Heisinger over to Carl Wade. Back to Heisinger, up for the shot. Good. Beautiful shot that time by Kurt Heisinger after some good defense on the part of the Wildcats that time as well.
It'll be interesting to see, Larry, if they have made any major adjustments at halftime.
23-15 Vikings. Rob Smith tries for the shot, blocked by J. Van Ross. Back to the top, Scott Lindquist. Trying to set the play up now. Comes left to Eric Webb. Eric Webb, outside shot, too hard. And Jason Cassette, 6'4" junior, comes down with the rebound. Heisinger, back to Carl Wade. Carl Wade guarded closely by Eric Webb.
This is kind of an important possession right here. If Whitehall should score, they'd go up by 10. Good pass.
Nice shot. Nice pass.
Good pass from Kurt Heisinger.
Matt Scott with the basket. Wildcats down by 10 now, after having scored only 15 points in the first half. I would venture to say, Dale, that's the least points the Wildcats have scored in a half of action for probably 2-3 years.
I would guess. I believe they only had 7 in the first quarter. That's an awfully weak output for offense. And yet, that's not surprising, the first game of the year, to see teams a little weaker on the offensive end. I think a lot of that has to be given to credit to the Whitehall defense.
Oh, absolutely.
3 seconds on Jason
Cassette was the man with the ball there.
Whitehall has played very, very heads-up defense. Done a lot of switching, clogged up the middle. They've only allowed Montague one shot many times down the court.
A lot of that has to do with that good strength of J. Van Ross that we talked about. 3-point effort by Rob Smith that time.
Let's see if that ignites the Cats now. We need a turnover.
Good defense. The trap coming up. Eric Webb right on Carl Wade, back to the right.
3-point
outside
attempt.
again. Good. Matt Scott with his second basket in a row for the Vikings. 28-18, back to a 10-point difference. Scott Lindquist across the timeline. Has it stolen by Kurt Heisinger. Kurt Heisinger driving down. Followed by J. Van Ross. Well, that time Scott Lindquist had the ball taken right away from him, and the layup, fortunately, was no good for the Wildcats, at least.
Scott made a mistake in giving the ball up, but he also hustled back and caused just enough of a distraction for Kurt to miss an easy layup. Then J. Van Ross got tied up.
That time the outside shot won't drop. Mark Schneider on the inside. No good on the shot, but he draws a 2-shot foul. Matt Scott, I believe that'll probably be his third. Seems like he had 2 in the first
foul.
half.
Correct, Larry.
It
third
is his
foul.
third. First team. And so Mark Schneider will be at the Wildcat charity stripe.
You see the importance of getting that second attempt at the basket, Larry. They got the foul called on him.
Good on the first. I believe that was Mark's first free throw of the season. Cuts the margin to 9. Eric Webb being replaced by Kevin Bushberger.
Montague's got to start a run here. Get 3 or 4 baskets in a row. Cut that lead down.
Carl Wade across the timeline, guarded by Bushberger. Carl Wade inside, off to J. Van Ross, no good. Ross controls the rebound and back up with the ball. Good. 30-20.
Excellent concentration by J. Van Ross.
Wildcats
stuck with it.
had their hands on the ball, but it was taken right away from them back up. Nice move by Rob Smith that time. Kevin Bushberger outside, no good. Controlled. Nobody around the bucket for the most part that time for the Wildcats. Kurt Heisinger coming down. Kyle Wade, left-hand side drive. It's fouled. I believe the foul is going to be on Rob Smith. That'd be his second.
Think so.
And it was in the act of shooting, so Kyle Wade will have 2 attempts coming up here.
Whitehall just seems to be doing a better job on the offensive end, Larry. We've talked about it before tonight, but they're moving the ball. They're breaking the middle more. Montague has not been able to do much down the lane. They've been shooting outside, haven't been successful, and Whitehall's been getting some easy buckets on the offensive end.
Kyle Wade will try to make it an 11-point margin. Can't quite get it to drop that time. 10-point lead is the biggest of the night for the Vikings. 11-point would make it even larger, of course. Jay Van Ross, was on the JV team last year, Dale, but he averaged 20 points a game on the JV team and brought down 10 rebounds. And I'm sure he had lots of block shots as well. So
there's going to be a foul on number 42. Had his hands on Doug Schlaff going around in the drive.
That's David Mead with the personal.
That's a foul that isn't called all that often, although it is in the rule book that the defender may not have his hands placed on the offensive player's back. Mark Schneider with a shot
Schneider from the outside, no good. And Mead blocks out, gets the rebound. Off to Heisinger finally. Up the right-hand side, he's stopped.
Excellent
beautiful pass to Cassette. Nice eyesight that time by Kurt Heisinger.
There again, he penetrated, he kept the ball moving until he saw the open man under the basket. An excellent pass.
Doug Schlaff from far outside, short. Cassette with the rebound. Nice spin move by Cassette off to Jay Van Ross. And it's going to be a 2-shot foul, I think, as Bushberger caught the arm on the way up.
Jim's going to call a timeout, try to regroup.
Probably a real wise timeout at this point. Down by 13 at this juncture, a 2-point effort coming up. Probably a nice time for Jim to call a timeout and settle the troops down.
I think that's an excellent timeout. I'm just really impressed with how well Whitehall is playing. Montague appears to be a little flat-footed even here in the second half. Whitehall has shown a lot more aggressiveness on the offensive end. They're moving the ball, they're penetrating, they're hitting the open man, they're playing very unselfish basketball, and it's showing up on the scoreboard.
Well, Coach Griffin thought that they would have good balance, and they're certainly showing that tonight, Dale. And during the game, they've shown equal abilities on the offense and the defense, and it's making a difference.
That's a very good point. No one person stands out other than maybe Jay Van Ross a little bit, especially for his offensive rebounding. But they're very unselfish. They're hitting the open man. They're taking good shots, high percentage shots, and they're hitting a fairly good percentage. We're not keeping stats up here, but I would guess at the end of the game they're going to be up around the 40 to 45% range.
I'm sure you're correct. Oh, this is an interesting play right here, Dale. Can you want to explain that one? You see there are no Montague kids on the free throw lane, and the official gave the ball to the Whitehall player. I believe the whistle rang, or whistle blew, and you have to be on the court by the time the official is ready to put the ball in play.
That's correct. Jim didn't have the players back out there at the end of that timeout. You have to be out there ready to play at 45 seconds. And so now he still has 2 shots to shoot the ball. I'm glad to see the officials worked it that way, Larry. The rule was put in for a purpose, and I think it should be enforced. And it doesn't take a coach very long to figure out, I better have my players back out on the court.
That's for sure.
So I think that's a good call.
Well, Jay Van Ross sinks the final of his 3 attempts, making it a 14-point margin at 3:25 left in the third quarter. Kevin Bushberger across the timeline. Wildcats have their work cut out for him now. Across to Doug Schlaff.
One of the things, Larry, we haven't mentioned is that they're forcing the Wildcats to get that ball way outside. They're forcing him way out on that first pass from the point man. And I think that may be throwing off their offense a little bit. Going to get a traveling call.
Traveling is going to be the call. And as you mentioned before, if you go back down to the offensive or defensive end for Whitehall that last time, the Wildcats only were able to get one shot.
That's correct.
Jay Van Ross came right down with the rebound, and boy, that hurts when you only get one effort.
Whitehall has done just a magnificent job of boxing out, eliminating that second shot, and boy, that'll go a long ways in helping you on the scoreboard.
Rob Smith,
Rob.
good.
There they set a screen on Rob's man. They freed him up, and it's one of the few times tonight they've had an unobstructed shot.
34-22 now with 2:35 left in the quarter. Kurt Heisinger from the outside falls short, but Jason Cassette comes off with that rebound, turns around and puts it in. Good move by Jason. Boy, Jason indeed has just become stronger and stronger. You can tell it from last year. 6'4" junior. We're going to see a lot more from him, Dale.
I remember officiating the past couple of years and watching him progress, and he's showing us a lot tonight. A lot of hustle, being in the right place at the right time, as evidenced by that last basket.
Rob Smith once again from the outside, way short. Whitehall comes away with it. Kurt Heisinger here. Jay Van Ross underneath. Can't control the pass from Kurt Heisinger. Matt Cotter coming in for
That was an excellent pass from Kurt, Larry. Jay Van Ross knew it. He pointed at Kurt as if to say, that was my fault.
Right. It was right on target.
It was
Beautiful
right
play.
on target. He tried to move before he had possession.
Carter Heitzman back in for the Vikings. Jay Van's going to get a rest, a well-deserved rest.
Well-deserved rest.
As he's replaced by Matt Scott, senior Matt Scott. You know, Dale, you can tell that Kim has got some experience back there. He brought several people up as juniors, from juniors to seniors. And, of course, Jay Van coming up off the JV squad. And it makes a lot of difference when you've got some leadership and experience on the court.
Right, and one of the things that Kim talked about, and I don't know if he mentioned it in your pregame, was that this is really the best team he's had at the varsity level from top to bottom. And also in their attitude, in getting along with one another. And, boy, as the season wears on, it is a long season, and that's an important thing.
Indeed it is. Doug Schlaff on the inbounds, no good. Matt Cotter up. Nice play. Beautiful hustle by Matt Cotter that time. Fouled, and the bucket's going to count.
Matt had excellent position. He timed it just beautifully, and he has a chance for a three-point play. And this is a crucial point, as they all are at this point in the game.
That was the second foul on David Mead. Kind of importantly, too, Dale, that's the fourth foul of the half, fourth team foul of the half for the Vikings, so the Wildcats will be in a one-and-bonus situation here on. Okay, the Wildcats come away with that the ball as they block that effort underneath. Mark Schneider. Kevin Bushberger along the baseline, no good. Schneider tries to control, but it goes off instead to Jason Cassette. Nice ball handling capability shown by Cassette that time, too.
Correct. One shot again. Eric bringing it.
Nice move. Good inside move that time by Eric Webb, showing some speed and agility. That's one of the things that Coach Tate mentioned to me before the game started, that Eric, he thought, was the most improved player on the Wildcat squad since last year, and especially in his ball handling skills. And we saw at that time, dribbling quickly down the left side, made a nice inside move, drew the personal.
That almost reminded me of Ramil Robinson taking the ball the length of the court last March, or last April 1st.
Right. How would you remember that, Dale? I can't imagine.
I have no idea why I would remember.
Did you watch that game?
Partly.
Partly, yeah, I bet. Eric can't convert on the first of the one-and-bonus.
I don't know. I haven't been keeping track, Larry, of free throw misses, but seems like Montague's missed more than their share tonight.
I think you're right.
Excellent defense.
Nice defense by Eric, but he couldn't quite save it. Pass goes down court, intended for
Kurt Heisinger.
Kurt Heisinger. He lost the ball and almost himself on the stage.
I'm not sure if we know where it is. There it is.
Well, it'll be Wildcat ball with 41 seconds left, down by 9, 35-26.
You might even say that Eric Webb had a hand in that on the other end, because getting that steal almost. It may have unnerved the Whitehall player just enough to have caused that turnover. Look at the double team there.
Good defensive hustle that time, and the Cats steal it back. Scott Lindquist, good from the outside. 3-point basket by Lindquist, 3 points. Here's Carl Wade again for the Vikings. 7, 6, 5. Heisinger up for the shot at the buzzer. No good. And so at the end of the third quarter, the Wildcats find themselves down by a score of 36-29. We'll be right back, fans, for the conclusion of tonight's exciting game after these words from our commercial sponsors. Coach Kim Griffin was hoping for. Balance throughout, offense, defense, you name it, the Vikings have shown it. The Wildcats, I think, have been a little tentative on the other hand. They certainly lost a lot of experienced players in Paul Schlaff, J.J. Flynn, Jim Grieve, Tom Cedarquist, and it's showing something tonight in terms of a little lack of being able to put everything together.
Well, I think you're right, and the difference so far has been Whitehall on the offensive end have had a little better shot selection. But Montague did come on strong at the end of that third quarter, and they cut that 14-point lead of Whitehall's down to 7. And let's see what happens here in the fourth quarter.
Vikings put it in play again now. Steal by Lindquist on Kurt Heisinger. Comes up with the ball, stops. Can't get it to drop, but Mark Schneider controls and goes out of bounds, actually, but the Vikings knocked it out. So it'll be Wildcat ball. I'm sure Coach Jim Tate would like to see more of that kind of play throughout the remaining 7 minutes and 44 seconds. Lindquist from the outside, over the top this time. Matt Cotter, nice position for the rebound, but has it stolen by Carter Heitzman. Bushberger trying to hustle away, can't quite come up with it. Heisinger now controls for the Vikings. I'm sure they're going to try to be real patient now, Dale, not take any ridiculous shots at least.
I think you're right. Look at Scott hustle there.
Good hustle by Scott Lindquist that time. And I think we're going to get a walking call on Jason Cassette. So the Wildcats come up with the ball.
Awfully good hustle on the part of Scott Lindquist. He stole the ball, had it taken away, got part of the ball again, and eventually caused a turnover.
Eric Webb looking right, has it knocked away, and Carl Wade, nice defensive move that time. Wildcat ball on their own end.
3-point play here would really tighten it up.
Doug Schlaff, nice inside move, goes up, can't quite get it to drop. Rob Smith knocks it out, but can't get it to a Wildcat player, and there's Heitzman coming up with it. Now down to Jason Cassette. Carl Wade with a 3-point fake. Inside, back out to Carter Heitzman. There's Kurt Heisinger from 3-point range. Short. Scott Lindquist with a rebound off the long front end of the rim. 3-point for Scott. Good! From the outside, Scott Lindquist.
There was the 3-point play I was talking about. It just happened a little later than I wanted.
Carter Heitzman coming up with it now. Behind the back dribble. Wildcats are coming alive a little bit in this quarter, Dale.
I think Whitehall has to watch out now that they don't start making a lot of what I call foolish mistakes. Got a foul on Doug Schlaff there, I think. Must have been a push inside.
I think he was called for pushing off on Jay Van Ross underneath.
Doug's
That'll be his second foul on the team's third, so they'll be out of bounds underneath the Viking basket.
That's a good timeout by Kim Griffin at this point. That 14-point lead is down to 4 points. 6 minutes left. Montague is right back in it, and what's brought it about is their defensive play. They forced Whitehall to not take the kind of shots that they've been taking earlier. And you play better on the defensive end, and somehow you play better on the offensive end. I don't know what that is, because they're two entirely different concepts of play, but somehow it just picks you up. And there were some good shots there taken by Montague, and they've had a three-pointer just a second ago, and now they're right back in it.
That's one of the things that Kim Griffin mentioned in our pregame interview, that he knew that from last year that Jim Tate had some good outside shooting. He mentioned, for instance, Paul Schlaff and his brother Doug here tonight, of course. I don't know, I can't remember if Doug's had a three-pointer or not, but Wildcats have had 2 3-pointers now in this quarter, and that's a quick way to cut that lead down to the 4-point difference, 36-32.
I personally think the three-pointer has been awfully good for college and high school basketball. I think it's created a lot more excitement.
Certainly changes the strategy, coaching strategy and playing strategy.
Absolutely, especially the last 2 minutes of the game.
Well, here we go. The conclusion of the contest. Jay Van Ross can't get it to drop. Vikings control on the outside. Carl Wade back up for the shot. Short. Once again, there's Scott Lindquist with the ball, however. Had a little trouble controlling it, but came away with it now. Lindquist guarded closely by Kurt Heisinger. Over to Doug Schlaff along the baseline. It's going to be
Got a travel
for the travel, I think, that time. Tried to make the inside move and took an extra step on the baseline.
That was a good call. That was a good call. There was no question that he took that extra step.
Mark Schneider in for the Wildcats, replacing Doug Schlaff. Jason Cassette to put the ball in play. Vikings setting up and coming away with it now. Jason Cassette way down the floor to Jay Van Ross. Well, we got a two-shot foul, I believe, here. Two-shot foul. I think the official on the far side called it intentional, but I'm not sure. No, I guess not. I guess they're just going to give him a two-shot foul. Jay Van Ross will be at the line.
As they say, that was a good foul on Robbie Smith's part. Eliminated a certain 2 points.
Last time Jay Van Ross was on the line, he was 1 for 3, if you remember.
That's correct.
That's the third foul on Robbie Smith.
I'm sure Robbie didn't think of that when he fouled him, but he was stopping the 2 points because of the easy dog shot inside. And as you were just saying, Javon's had his problems at the line here tonight, and so it's paid off already.
One more effort. It's good. 37-32, a 5-point difference. 5:28 left in the contest. Dale, we couldn't have had a much better kickoff to our boys basketball season than what we've seen tonight.
Well, we were expecting this. Both teams.
Eric Webb had the ball stolen that time.
Both teams have a lot of ability, a lot of character. They're giving it their all. You can see it. I think you can say they're very evenly matched.
Indeed they are. And, you know, both coaches expected this. And, you know, the league itself looks to be a lot more evenly balanced this year. Whitehall, Montague, Oak Ridge, Scottville, a lot of people are going to be in the running this year.
This is definitely more than a two-man league.
Ryan Anglin controls the outside rebound. Good. Nice.
Excellent play by Ryan.
Move. Officials timeout here. Jason Cassette came down hard on his ankle, apparently.
I think he's going to have to go off for a minute. I didn't see what happened, but it's likely he went up in the air and came down on it wrong.
David Meade is going to come in and replace Jason Cassette.
That certainly could hurt Whitehall at this point of the game.
It can, except David Meade has had some excellent time for the Vikings tonight, too.
Right, and as we talked about earlier, he's had enough playing time in this game to have a feel for it. So,
nice defensive move by Rob Smith as he deflects the ball out of bounds. And that was David Meade trying to control it there. 4:34 remaining, 3-point contest, 37-34 Vikings. The Vikings would like nothing less than to start the season with a victory over their arch rival Wildcat opponents. No basket. Foul on the inside. I believe it's going to go against Ryan Anglin on the inside before the shot.
It's certainly premature to talk about who's going to win or who's going to lose, but we don't want to make this game seem too big in the eyes of either team, because as you'll well recall, last year Montague lost their opening, not the opening game, but I think it was the opening league game at Whitehall, and they came back to win the league.
That's true.
The winner of this game isn't automatically assured of being the conference champion. And as you said just a minute ago, there are many other fine teams in the WMC this year. All of them are going to be capable of beating each other on a given night.
Okay, Wildcats have possession now as Vikings missed that free throw. Kevin Bushberger at the top of the key. Nice move by Carl Wade defensively. Bushberger around the rim, no good. Oh, I think that's going to be a foul on Rob Smith. Rob Smith is going to be called for the personal. That's his fourth. Doug Schlaff, Eric Webb coming back into the game.
They're both in the 1-and-1 now. So that particular aspect's not going to mean anything. There's no fouls to give anymore.
Well, Whitehall has had Good balance, as we said tonight, and they have good balance on their squad in terms of who they have. They have 8 juniors and 4 seniors. Not only does that look good for tonight's game and throughout this season, but Coach Griffin's going to have a lot of talent back next year with those juniors returning.
I didn't happen to watch the JV game tonight, but I know there are a couple of kids down there at the Whitehall JV level that are going to be capable of playing a lot of basketball in the next couple of years.
Indeed they are. We should just mention the Viking JV squad did defeat the Wildcat JVs earlier tonight, as did the freshman squad at 4 o'clock.
Kevin passed up what looked like a good shot right there.
Doug Schlaff up with a shot. Mark Schneider with an excellent
Hustle
save.
by Mark Schneider.
Up with a shot, in and out. No good, and the rebound is now finally controlled by Eric Webb. Excellent hands
Hustle
in
by
there.
Eric Webb.
Schlaff. Oh! Doug, I think Mark Schneider thought Doug was going right up with a shot that time, and Doug saw Mark open.
I think that's an example, Larry, right there, where they haven't played all that much together yet. And I think as the season goes on, you're not going to see that kind of errant pass. Mark will be looking for it.
Eric Webb with an excellent defensive move. Leaped high, saved it.
Eric Webb made that play. No question about it.
Scott Lindquist for the three-point range. Follows the shot, goes up, off the back of the rim again.
Those were 2 good shots, though.
2:58 remaining in the contest. Kyle Wade off to Jason Cassette, over to Jay Van Ross. Good. I think it's going to be good. It is good. Excellent ball movement that time, Dale. Nice ball handling.
There were 2 excellent passes there, leaving the easy 2-foot shot for Javon Ross. And boy, when he's going to the basket like that, it's awfully hard to stop him because he's at least even with the rim or above it. And he is a real smooth ball player. Very, very good spring, and he really has the ability to get up.
5-point difference, 39-34, 2:51 remaining.
That was an awfully big shot.
Surely was. This could be a 5-point difference now. Means at least 2 possessions for the three-point play, and perhaps 3 if you go the other way. And Javon Ross knocks it down off the backboard.
I haven't seen that tonight, but he made it.
Eric Webb now looking to the Wildcats. Off to the left, Scott Lindquist from the outside once again. Short, follows the rebound, his shot. And we're going to have a foul this time on Javon Ross as Lindquist went up on the second shot.
I can say this because I'm not his dad, but I think Scott has asserted himself very well offensively tonight, has played awfully well. You sometimes don't even see that by the number of points that are on the board, but he's taken good shots. He's followed his shot, gotten several rebounds even after a missed shot. I think he's played real well on the offensive end, and I'm glad to see that initiative because Scott, if anything, has been a very unselfish ball player, and it's good to see him take those shots as they come.
Well, I appreciate those words, Dale. I tell you one thing, I know that before the game tonight at home, his knees were shaking so hard he could hardly do anything. First contest of varsity level,
That's
of course.
probably why he was here at the school at about 5 o'clock, too, waiting for the game.
Probably. Okay, and now we're going to have the 4-corner offense on the part of the Vikings. They're going to make the Wildcats come out on them. And Lindquist's going to be called for the personal, I'm sure, as Kurt Heisiger dribbles by.
I think Jim's going to talk this over for a minute. He'll want to get the Cats in position to know how to deal with that 4-corner.
2 minutes and 15 seconds remain. 40-35 is the score. For Jim Tate, this is a little different. Most generally in the last couple of years, he hasn't been down by 5 points in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Although, if you remember last year, Dale, the district tournament finals against Scottville, that was a touch-and-go battle all the way. The Cats were down at the end of the third quarter, I believe, by 8 points. Came back to win it.
Came back to win it. That's right. This game can remind you of that quite a bit. There was a lot of similarity to that game as to this one. This is not all that surprising to see the Cats a little bit slower tonight. They seem to be a little bit more slow starting than Whitehall. It'll be interesting to see how the last two minutes go. I think Montague has really come on in the last 7-8 minutes. They started at the end of the third quarter, and they've really played some good basketball. in the last quarter and in the last part of the third quarter.
Well, we're going to have to see some explosive offensive power on the part of the Cats to catch up, and of course that's going to be difficult to do because the Vikings are going to just try to put the ball away.
I think they're going to force Whitehall to go to the line. Whitehall will have to win it there.
And
That's the
Kurt
way you do
Heisinger
it.
can do it like that, that's for sure. A 6-point difference now, 41-35.
You can hit 80% of your free throws in the last 2 minutes, you're going to win a lot of ball games.
That's for sure. Got to give those Vikings lots and lots of credit. They've just played absolutely fantastic ball tonight. Tenacious defense. You know, the defense that the Vikings have played tonight kind of is reminiscent of the Wildcats' defense in the years past.
Very much so. They've I wouldn't say they've out-hustled Montague, but they've been quicker than Montague to the ball tonight for some reason. We
Wildcats.
might mention Jason Cassette is back in there for Whitehall, and that will help them down the stretch here.
Mark Schneider on the right-hand side, looking in. Oh, and then it's going to be a foul called, I believe, on the inside as Mark Schneider was dribbling through the center.
That may be Matt Scott's fifth.
Matt Scott
Yes,
draws
it
the
is.
personal. I think that's his fifth, that's right. Matt Scott has played a really good game tonight for the Vikings.
He's played an excellent floor game, Larry. I'm not sure how many points he's scored, but he's been around the ball a lot.
He surely has, and
He's
that's
caused a lot of things to happen.
an important aspect of the overall game. Mark Schneider now at the line. I believe last time he was there he sank two. We could sure use him in Wildcat country right now. And we get the first of those two. 1:47 left, 42-36, a 6-point difference.
I was talking a minute ago about how important free throws were. I was mainly referring to Whitehall having to hit them, but Montague got a couple of pretty important ones right there, too.
Jason Cassette ready to inbounds the ball underneath the Montague bucket. Going long this time. Carl Wade across the timeline. And now we've got Kurt Heisinger dribbling to the corner. Inside it goes to Cassette. Nice inside move by Cassette. Good look by Kurt Heisinger that time to get it to him from the corner.
I thought Kurt might have gotten himself in a little trouble over there in the corner, but he saw Jason coming around, took the ball in.
Scott from the outside, short. Scott with the rebound
Excellent
inside
pass.
to Rob
There it
Smith.
is.
Good. Rob Smith.
Look at Scott hustle.
And there's the Vikings, number 42, coming out of there with it. That's David Mead. Up, no good. Right, Vikings still controlling, and the Vikings can't control in front of their own bench. Excellent hustle that time on the part of both Jason Cassette and Kyle Wade.
Montague's going to want to take that ball right in, Larry. They're not going to want to waste any time.
57 seconds remaining. They're down by 5 points. Doug Schlaff got to hustle the ball up now. We need some points in a hurry. If you're a Viking fan, you're hoping, of course, we don't get them. Doug Schlaff with the drive. Good bucket. Nice inside move that time. Power drive by Doug Schlaff. 40 seconds left. 3-point difference. David Mead, Kurt Heisinger, Ryan Anglin puts the pressure on. Over to Kyle Wade. Kyle Wade dribbling left. And we're going to have a foul call on Doug Schlaff. 28 seconds remaining. 44-41 Vikings. 28 seconds from the first West Michigan Conference victory for the Vikings. And the first home court loss for the Wildcats in the last 2 years. Jim Tate going to take another timeout. 28 seconds remaining. Well, Dale, you remember the score, I think, at halftime was something like 23-15. And the Wildcats just had a horrendous offensive first half. They've come back and scored much better, 26 points in the second half. If you equate that out, of course, we'd be in the lead by a few. Of course, then the Vikings might have also done something different in the second half. But the Vikings have had much more difficulty containing the Wildcats in the second half, and we've played well.
The whole difference is that Montague has suddenly become very aggressive on the offensive end. They're taking much better shots. They're hitting the open man. They're not forcing the ball. They're taking the shots as they're there. If they're not there, they're going back out. But I think there's just been a whole lot more good decision-making on the offensive end, and it showed up on the scoreboard.
Well, let's just mention for a moment here before we go back to play that the Hart Pirates will be here Friday night, December 8th, and the Fruitport team will be here the 12th at Montague High School. The next two contests for the varsity and junior varsity Cats.
I think we ought to mention that was an excellent timeout by Jim. He certainly gave Carl Wade some time to think about it. We'll see if it does any good.
Carl Wade was cool.
It didn't on the first one. Now, surprisingly enough, Whitehall's called timeout. I'm a little surprised at that. But again, maybe I don't need to be surprised, because as cool as Carl was on the line that time, Kim probably has every confidence in him coming back to sink the second one.
That's true, and if we look at the scoreboard now, 4-point difference. It's going to take 2 possessions for the Wildcats to tie or go ahead, of course. And 4 points in 28 seconds, two possessions is pretty difficult when the Vikings are going to be holding the ball.
It's very difficult, because Montague's not going to have any time to come down to set up. They're going to want to hopefully hit a 3-pointer, at least on one of those possessions, if they get a second possession. And so that gives Whitehall a real tremendous advantage in terms of playing set up on defense on the defensive end for them.
Well, regardless of the outcome of this game, Dale, either team should hang its head, victor or loser. Both have played well for the opening contest, and this is probably a more difficult contest to open with than maybe a non-conference game might have been.
Well, I mentioned that, and I think you said it was mentioned in the pregame that each team would probably prefer to play somebody else.
Wade with the miss.
Well, he did
Scott
miss
Lindquist
it.
coming down the left side.
We'll see how they get open.
We got to get a 3-point effort. That's what they're trying to set up here. Doug Schlaff going to the inside, short, and coming off the rebound, I think Scott Lindquist is going to be called for the personal on Jason Cassette.
The worst thing about that was not missing the shot as much as it took 16 seconds off the clock.
That's right.
So that really puts a damper on it for Montague.
Little inexperience there. They were looking to do the 3-point shot, obviously. Perhaps Coach Tate had told him to try to set that up, but not having success getting it done right away surely hurt him on the clock. 45-41. Vikings, 12 seconds left. Cassette at the line. 1 in bonus. Scott Lindquist with the rebound. Up to Schlaff. Schlaff with the 3-point outside shot. Short. Rob Smith rebound. Good. At the buzzer. Good at the buzzer. That's the end of the contest. The score, Whitehall 45, Montague 43. Look at the Vikings celebrating on the court. Excellent victory for the Vikings, Dale. And of course, the Wildcats, although they would rather have won, could be proud of their efforts tonight. And I recalled at the beginning of the contest, we showed a scene similar to this last year where the Vikings were on the losing end after Jim Grieve made that 3-point effort right at the end of the game. And so this is a fitting turnaround, perhaps, in that the shoe was on the other foot. Both teams congratulating each other, and of course Jim Tate and Kim Griffin also doing the same thing.
Well, there's good sportsmanship shown on both sides. And I'd like to just point out that this is not the season. This is just one game, and Whitehall's going to have a lot of tense, close contests between now and the 1st of March, as will Montague. And I really feel that probably the winner of the conference this year is going to have a minimum of 2 losses.
I wouldn't doubt that you're right, Dale. As we mentioned, there's a lot of balance in the league this year. Yeah, if you think back to last year, there was a lot of sophomore talent around the league. I can't think of the player's name right now, but Oak Ridge had a sophomore that was an excellent player last year. Scottville the same. Well, I'm having trouble with names right now, but there's a lot of experience out there this year, a lot of talent, and of course, as the season progresses, that talent's going to mold itself. You mentioned something a few minutes ago that's an important aspect, I think, of any team this time of the year, and that is that they haven't had an awful lot of time to work together, and tonight the Vikings just did that better.
You know, it's one thing to be playing in the summer on the basketball court out at the park or whatever, but it takes a lot more timing and practice and being together that starts in November for these kids to mold into a team because of the guidance of the coaches and et cetera. So I really think that Montague should be very encouraged by the play in the 4th quarter. They started at the end of the 3rd quarter, came back from 14 down. They showed a lot of character right there to come back. A lot of teams would have just quit right there, but they came back and made it a ball game again. And I think when we go back over to Whitehall in January, it's going to be a real close game again.
Well, I'm sure you're right, Dale. And I appreciate you being up here tonight with me. I've worked with you before, and I think for an opening game at least we did a reasonable job, and I look forward to doing that again with you some other time during the course of this season.
Well, thank you, Larry, and I've enjoyed it as well. I'd like to close by just wishing one of my teachers at early school a happy 40th birthday tomorrow, to Linnea Anderson. Happy birthday, Linnea.
Well, Linnea, I didn't realize, but I'm certainly glad to hear that. I see you're still standing down there on court, and you'll certainly want to hear this on the broadcast tomorrow night. Until next time then, fans, well, I think maybe we'll go down on court and see if we can get an interview with Coach Kim Griffin and perhaps a couple of his players. If we can, we'll be back. If not, fans, we thank you for being with us, and good night. Welcome back to the court at Montague High School. And as you can see, Dale Schrader and I are standing here with the victorious Coach Kim Griffin of the Whitehall Vikings. First of all, Kim, congratulations from we at Montague. It was an excellent game, and I'm sure you're pleased about the opening victory.
Yeah, it was a well-fought game. You're always happy to win these kind, especially with this rivalry. I'm just really pleased.
Kim, we talked several times in the booth as we covered the game tonight about balance. And I remember when we did the interview in your office earlier this week, you said that you thought you were going to have an even team, a well-balanced team. Things would go well for you on both ends of the court, you were hoping, and surely that happened tonight.
Yeah, we got help from a lot of different areas. Jay Van Ross showed some good moves inside for us and a strong rebound. Jason Cassette did the same thing. We got some nice ball control from Kurt Heisinger and some key free throws. Carl Wade threw in some nice shots, and Matt Scott played just a whale of a defensive game. So we got help from all over.
We were talking to Booth, Kim, about the fact that this early in the season, quite often the defense will outplay the offense. Did you think that happened tonight?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought both teams set up their defenses well, took away what they wanted to take away from the other team. We keyed our defense to Doug Schloff. We wanted to make sure that he did not beat us. They keyed their defense to Jay Van Ross to make sure that he did not beat them. And it was obvious that both teams were doing that. I thought the defenses were set up well, the kids executed well on defense, and it was a defensive game by the score.
Well, Kim, Jay Van Ross, you mentioned, came up from the junior varsity squad last year. I think he averaged somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 points last season and had 10 rebounds and several block shots, and that held true again tonight. I think you're in for a good season from Jay Van Ross.
Well, he has to keep moving. He has to keep working real hard. This is, I hope, a great indication of what he's going to do for us this year. He gives us a different dimension. He had 5 block shots, which we feel should be an average for him. And we expect an occasional dunk from him, and we expect any number of rebounds. He only had 7 rebounds, but he had his hand on a whole bunch other balls, and couldn't bring him in. But as the year goes on and he gets relaxed, he's going to do a lot of things for us.
I think another key of your victory tonight, Kim, was the fact that you were pretty deep. You could bring a lot of kids in off the bench, and you didn't lose all that much. As you mentioned, David Mead and a bunch of your players came right in and fit in well with your pattern.
Well, I didn't play quite as many as I would have liked this game, but in the first game, I think it's important to set the tone for your starters and your first 2 subs. Later in the year, we'll probably get down to 8, 9, maybe even 10 men, but right now, I just like to get us so that our first team can relax, and we'll sub more as the year goes on.
I was impressed along those lines with the unselfish play that I saw tonight. I didn't see a lot of individual stars out there. I saw 5 guys playing pretty well together for the first game of the year. You must be pleased with that concept.
In practice, it's kind of fun to watch because I don't know who's going to do what when, and it was the same way tonight. I just kind of sit and see who's going to take charge and who's going to do the things that help us win, and everybody contributes, and it's going to be a team that's going to be fun to watch this year because they play well together.
Kim, what do you look for in the West Michigan Conference, other than you being at the top, of course, as you'd like it? But it seems to us, as we talk about things and read things in the paper, et cetera, and think about the sophomore strength around the league last year, that it's going to be a lot better balanced league, perhaps, this year than it has been the last couple.
I believe that's true. Oak Ridge is going to be tough. Montague's already shown that they're going to be, in the thick of things. You can't leave Shelby out. You can't leave Scottville out. And we don't know about Ravenna. They have a new coach, and even North Muskegon. So Hart, you don't know what they have. It's all up in the air. I think we're going to see some real balance at the top, though.
We were talking about how well the officials did tonight, and I think we should commend them for doing such a good job during the game. Officials never win or lose games for you, but they certainly had it under control. And we thought just tonight was a good representation of what high school basketball should be about.
I agree with you. I told them afterwards, I thought they did a nice job of making the right calls and being in position and working the game hard, and I was just pleased with the way they did it.
Kim, one thing I'd like you to comment about from the coach's perspective, we noticed that after a timeout one time, the Wildcats were a little slow getting on the court, and I think it was Javon Ross that was at the line, and he had an extra free throw before we got out there. What do you think of that rule, and what effect might it have on the course of the games?
Well, it's supposed to speed the game up. If I'm a coach that gets my players out on the floor on time, and that's the rule, then I feel it's okay.
Okay, well, Kim, we wish you the best of luck throughout the remaining games in the season, and I know we'll be up for your game over at Whitehall as both teams are always ready to tangle with one another. We hope for another good game over there.
I know that'll be a good game. I know they'll look forward to it, and I know we will.
Okay. Well, best wishes for continued success, Kim.
Congratulations. All right.
Well, we're going to try and get Coach Jim Tate over here with us in a minute, but in the meantime, I see he's still with Mr. Means from the Beacon, perhaps, but we'll hustle him over here. And Dale, Jim Tate, while he's walking in the picture here, I'm sure he's a little disappointed about the result of tonight's game, but the Wildcats are going to be all right.
Well, we talked about the fact that one game does not a season make, and I'm sure that the other 19 games are going to be equally as important as this one. And Jim, congratulations on having your team come back. They've showed a lot of character from the middle of the third quarter on to the end of the ball game, never giving up, being down 14 points and then cutting that down to a loss of at the end of just 2 points. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's exactly what I told them after the game was over. I was real proud of the way they came back, and I think more than anything we were our own worst enemy tonight. We were awfully tense and tight. We had a lot of young players that were playing their first varsity game, and you could make a lot of excuses, but I just think it was the fact that they're tense and nervous and hyped up. The fact that it's Whitehall and there's 1,000 people here didn't help also. The first game of the year is always a rough one for a performance, and you don't get a real gauge of your kids until you get into the season a little bit further. But like you said, I was tremendously proud of the way they came back when things looked really bad. I picked this team every year very carefully, as much for what those kids have on the inside as how well they can play, and they showed me a lot of character.
It appeared to Larry and I that offensively you were just stifled in the first half. Actually, the first half and then part of the third quarter, it just seemed like you weren't getting the shots you wanted. They weren't dropping. Then in the fourth quarter, it seemed like you were playing better defense, which then helped you play better offense.
Yeah, there was a change in strategy that I made in the second quarter that, in looking back, I wouldn't do it again. But I wanted to see if Whitehall could score in our half-court offense, so we quit pressing and went back and played man-to-man in the backcourt. And that didn't help our offense any because we weren't moving nearly as well. But to Whitehall's credit, Javon Ross knocked everything away that we shot close to the basket. And as you said, we had a lot of shots that were dead center and just didn't stay. When Scott Lindquist took the shot, 47-44, the three, I was right behind it. It was dead center. I knew the game was going to be tied, and bonk. That's kind of what happened to us tonight. We shot less than 30% for the game, which is not typical of those kids or the way we've shot in the past. But offense is timing, and it's tough to have real good timing early in the year. It's also tough to have good timing early in the year when you got the kind of athletes that they have and the kind of defenders that they have. So it was doubly tough tonight.
We mentioned several times the fact that you were only getting one shot at the offensive end of the court, and that doesn't bode well when that happens. But Whitehall was just doing a super job on their defensive boards.
Yeah, when you got an athlete like Ross, he played off Rob Smith about 10 feet. Rob took a couple of threes, and he tipped him, coming from the lane. They don't need to really get very far away from the basket, and if they're going to play behind us all the time, they've got great rebound position defensively, but that is our Achilles heel, and it's going to be for this team, and we've just got to figure out ways to compensate for the fact that we're not going to be a great offensive rebounding team, and we just hope to do a real good job defensive rebounding. That's really important for us.
Well, Jim, the fact that you're a young group probably hurt us a little bit tonight, but I think the kids will work hard and come back strong in the future games.
Oh yeah, I'm very confident they're going to do that. We got great kids, we got good players, and I always tell our kids that I only want them to do 3 things. I want them to play hard, I want them to play together, and I want them to play the way we practice. And we did those 3 things tonight, and we could have played a whole lot better, but I don't think we could have played any harder. And that's all I can ask as a coach. And if they do that 21 times this year, I'm going to be real proud of them.
You may have talked about this at the opening, but we just mentioned to Kim about the fact that this is going to be a balanced league. I mentioned in the booth that I thought the conference champion may end up with as many as 2 losses. Would you agree with that assessment or disagree?
Yeah, I think it could be 2, even 3. I've seldom seen the league with this much balance. Oak Ridge, that Whitehall has playing Friday, is an excellent team. We've got to play Shelby and Oak Ridge yet before Christmas, so there's going to be a lot of critical games in the conference before Christmas. But there's going to be some great play. And 45-43 here, I think there's going to be a lot of conference games that are going to go right down to the last minute or 2.
Well, Jim, we know it's disappointing to have an opening season loss, but I'm sure you'll come back strong, and we wish you all the best for the remaining season.
Thanks a lot.
Congratulations on a well-fought game. Well, fans, that just about wraps it up from the court at Montague High School, where tonight the Whitehall Vikings came out on top in the first game for both teams by a final score of 45-43. I remind you again that this Friday night, December 8th, the Wildcats will host the Hart Pirates, and then a week from tonight, we'll return home here to take on the Fruitport team. We encourage you to come out and support those Wildcat teams as they continue throughout the season. So until next time, this will be Larry Lindquist, along with Dale Schrader, saying good night from Montague High School.